Have you ever wondered why women, despite claiming they want a kind, gentle, and safe man, so often find themselves irresistibly drawn to men who carry something darker inside them? Why is it that the men society labels as dangerous, unpredictable, or even monstrous are the very same men who ignite the deepest fascination in the female psyche? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most provocative philosophers in history, dared to reveal a truth that most people today still try to deny. Women are not only drawn to the light in men, but also to their darkness. They crave the dangerous edge, the untamed spirit, the beast that lurks beneath the surface of civilization. For Nietzsche, the figure of the monster was not just a criminal or a brute, but a man who embodies raw vitality, power, and the will to live beyond society's fragile rules. This video is not about condemning women or glorifying toxic behavior. Instead, it's about understanding one of the most uncomfortable yet undeniable realities of human desire: that women are magnetically attracted to men who can embody danger without being destroyed by it. And it is here, in this paradox, that Nietzsche's insights expose what most modern men refuse to accept. The safest man is rarely the most desired man. The man who dares to carry a shadow, who knows how to wield his inner monster without letting it devour him, is the one who creates the deepest pull on a woman's psyche. So today, we'll uncover Nietzsche's brutal wisdom on this hidden truth, breaking it down into 7 parts that will change the way you look at female attraction forever. Let's begin. Part 1. The Mask of Civilization and the Hidden Monster. Nietzsche often said that beneath the polished surface of modern life, beneath manners, morality, and polite words, there is something raw, primal, and untamed that drives human behavior. Civilization is a mask, and behind it lurks the beast. Men, in particular, are taught to bury their aggression, their ambition, their lust for dominance, and to become tame, agreeable creatures. But women, Nietzsche argued, do not fall in love with the mask. They sense what lies behind it. A man who lives only through the mask, who is endlessly polite, always compliant, predictable, and safe, may be accepted, but he is rarely desired. Desire doesn't blossom in safety. It awakens in tension. And the tension women feel most strongly is the energy of a man who has a monster inside but refuses to be consumed by it. The paradox is simple. Women fear monsters, but they crave the man who can become one when necessary. Why? Because such a man reveals strength, unpredictability, and the refusal to be enslaved by the dull order of society. Nietzsche saw that the essence of attraction lies in vitality, in life force. And life force is never meek. It is dangerous, wild, and capable of destruction. This is why women often test men. The so-called shit tests or subtle provocations are not random behaviors. They are unconscious probes. Does this man have teeth? Or is he all bark and no bite? A man who folds at the first sign of resistance shows that his monster is weak, or worse, non-existent. And while society might call him a good man, Nietzsche would call him a hollow man. A man who has traded his vitality for acceptance. Think about it. When women tell stories of the men who haunt their memories, they rarely speak of the nice guy who never raised his voice, who bent over backwards to please them. No, they speak of the man who shook their world, who made them feel small yet alive, who unsettled them with his power, yet fascinated them with his restraint. That is the man who embodies Nietzsche's vision of the monster. Not a brute without control, but a beast who chooses when to reveal his fangs. Nietzsche's warning to men was simple, but severe. If you suppress your inner monster completely, you don't become more attractive. You become invisible. Women may call you safe, sweet, or reliable, but beneath those words lies a deeper judgment. Forgettable. Part 2. the feminine fascination with power and the will to overcome. Nietzsche's philosophy is built upon one central concept, the will to power. This is not merely political or physical power, but the deep drive to expand, to grow, to overcome obstacles, and to impose one's vision on the world. According to Nietzsche, this drive is the essence of life itself, and women, consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to men who embody it, the so-called monster. In men is nothing other than this will to power, expressed in its rawest form. A man who refuses mediocrity, who rejects the dull comfort of herd existence, becomes dangerous not because he seeks destruction, but because he dares to live beyond the limits set for him. Women sense this danger, and though it frightens them, it also excites them. Why? Because the feminine psyche is drawn to vitality, to strength, to a force that can break through resistance. A man who struggles, who fights, who asserts himself against the weight of the world, is a man who reveals that he is alive in a way most men are not. This energy radiates from him, and women feel it not just with their minds, but with their bodies. It awakens something ancient, the desire to be near the flame of power, even at the risk of being burned. Here lies the contradiction most men never understand. Women may verbally say they want peace, harmony, and kindness, and in many ways they do, but attraction is not governed by words. Attraction is governed by the subconscious pull towards strength. A man who is only kind, only safe, only soft, signals weakness. A man who can be kind yet carries the capacity for dominance. For danger and for victory, he signals strength. Nietzsche described this as the higher man, the man who creates values, who does not bow to the crowd, who dares to stand apart. And women, whether they can articulate it or not, sense this difference instantly. The average man lives in fear of breaking rules, of offending others, of stepping out of line. The man with the will to power, the so-called monster, lives by his own law. This difference separates the forgettable from the unforgettable. Part 3. The Shadow Test. Why women probe for the monster. If women secretly crave the monster in men, the question naturally arises: how do they discover whether it truly exists within you? The answer lies in something every man has experienced, but few fully understand the subtle, often infuriating tests women throw at them. Nietzsche, though he never used the modern term shit test, understood the psychology behind it. He argued that human beings constantly reveal their true strength through resistance, not through comfort, and women, guided by their unconscious attraction to power, instinctively place obstacles in front of men to see if they will shatter, endure, or rise above them. Think about this deeply. When a woman pushes your buttons, mocks your weakness, questions your ambition, withdraws affection, or creates drama out of nothing, she's not simply being irrational. She is attempting to touch the bars of the cage and hear whether the beast rattles inside. She wants to feel if the man before her is merely a tame lamb dressed in polite words, or if he possesses something more dangerous beneath the surface. The weak man fails these tests in two predictable ways. Either he collapses into anger, showing that his emotions control him, or he bends into supplication, begging for acceptance and proving he has no teeth. Both outcomes kill attraction. In Nietzsche's view, both are signs of the herd man, a man who lacks individuality, strength and vitality. The strong man, the man with the monster inside, responds differently. He doesn't lash out like a child, nor shrink into submission. He stands firm, amused, unshaken. He radiates calm power, showing that he can dominate the storm without being drowned by it. Women sense this difference immediately. A man who cannot withstand her tests cannot withstand the world. A man who passes them proves he is more than ordinary. He is a force of nature. Nietzsche would say this is the essence of the shadow test. Women are drawn not to the monster that rages uncontrollably, but to the monster who remains chained at will, To feel his shadow is to feel safe in his strength, not in his weakness. Part 4. The monster as creator, not destroyer. When we hear the word monster, most imagine a figure of chaos, violence, and destruction. But Nietzsche saw something more subtle and far more profound. To him, the true monster is not simply a brute who destroys everything in his path. The true monster is a creator, one who destroys only to rebuild, who breaks rules only to forge new ones, who tears down illusions in order to reveal truth. This is the dimension of the monster that women crave most deeply. Not the man who is reckless and cruel, but the man whose power is creative, expansive, and transformative. He is not enslaved by morality or the timid rules of the herd. He creates his own values, lives by his own law, and reshapes the world according to his will. For Nietzsche, this was the Übermensch, the higher man, the one who transcends the limits of ordinary existence. Women, even if they cannot name it, sense when a man carries this energy. He is not a destroyer for destruction's sake. He is a destroyer who clears the ground for something greater. And in this energy, women feel both danger and fascination, both fear and longing. This is why women are not drawn to the weak rebel who fights authority out of bitterness, nor to the hollow brute who lashes out blindly. They are drawn to the man who channels his monster into creation, the man who uses his shadow, not to collapse but to rise. His danger is purposeful, not random. His power builds even as it threatens. Think about the figures who dominate history, myth, and even modern culture. They are rarely saints. They are men who carried a shadow who could destroy, but who turned their destructive capacity into creative force. They unsettled, they frightened, but they also inspired. This duality is at the heart of female attraction. The knowledge that the man she desires could break her, but chooses instead to elevate her. Nietzsche believed this is why women secretly crave the monster. Because only the man who has faced his own darkness can create something worthy of awe. The safe man may comfort her, but he cannot transform her. The monstrous creator, however, can. Part 5. Fear, desire, and the erotic pull of danger. Now we come to the most intimate dimension of Nietzsche's insight. The erotic connection between fear, desire, and the presence of the monster. Modern psychology confirms what Nietzsche intuited long ago, that fear and attraction are deeply intertwined. The body responds to both with adrenaline, racing heartbeat, heightened senses, and a rush of energy. And in the female psyche, these overlapping sensations create a powerful cocktail. The dangerous man excites not just her mind, but her body. This explains why women often feel torn between what they should want and what they truly desire. Society tells them to choose the safe man, the stable provider, the one who will never unsettle their comfort, but their biology and unconscious mind pull them toward the man who carries danger in his aura. That danger sparks arousal, and arousal sparks obsession. Nietzsche saw this as part of the eternal contradiction of life itself. We seek safety, but we also crave risk. Women embody this contradiction in their attraction. They may marry the safe man, but they dream of the dangerous one. They may publicly condemn the monster, but privately fantasize about him. This is not hypocrisy, it is human nature. The erotic pull of danger is not about wanting to be harmed. It is about being near the flame of vitality. The monster is a reminder that life is not meant to be lived in endless security. Life is risk, power, and transcendence. To stand near such a man is to feel alive. Nietzsche would argue that women crave the monster because he embodies life in its most intense form. He awakens fear, but in that fear lies desire. He unsettles her, but in that unsettling lies obsession. And obsession, far more than comfort, is the fuel of passion. Part 6. The weak man's tragedy. When the monster is missing. To understand why women crave the monster, we must also examine the opposite. What happens when a man has no monster at all? Nietzsche was merciless on this subject. He described the herd man, the ordinary man who seeks only comfort, acceptance and safety, as hollow, as someone who has never confronted his own depths. This is the tragedy of the weak man. He believes that by suppressing his shadow, by presenting himself as endlessly nice, agreeable and tame, he will win love. But in reality, he only earns tolerance. Women may keep him around, they may even marry him. But deep down, they do not crave him. He becomes a utility, not a source of desire. Nietzsche would say that such a man lives as a ghost of himself. By refusing to awaken his own monster, he also kills the fire of vitality within him. Women sense this instantly. It is not about height, wealth, or status alone. It is about the presence, the aura of a man who has faced his inner chaos and emerged stronger. The weak man has no such aura. His very presence signals safety but also boredom. This is why women so often become restless in relationships with weak men. At first, the safety feels comforting, but over time, comfort without fire becomes suffocating. A woman will find herself drawn almost against her will to another man, not necessarily more handsome, richer, or even better on the surface, but a man who radiates danger, who feels alive. The weak man's tragedy is not that women leave him. It is that they never truly longed for him in the first place. They accepted him because he was available, stable, and useful. But their secret craving, the craving Nietzsche spoke of, remained unfulfilled. And in that void, resentment grows. She resents him for being boring, and he resents her for not loving his safety. Both suffer because the monster was never there. Part 7. Becoming the monster without being consumed. Here lies the final paradox. If women crave the monster in men, how can a man embody this truth without losing himself to darkness? Nietzsche offers a brutal but liberating answer. The task is not to deny your monster, nor to let it rule you, but to master it. A man who becomes a brute, enslaved by his aggression, his lust, or his recklessness, is no master of himself. He is ruled by chaos. Women may be briefly fascinated by such men, but ultimately they recoil, for such raw monstrosity cannot protect or elevate them. It is destruction without direction. The truly powerful man is the one who knows his monster intimately, who has wrestled with it in silence, who has felt its hunger and its rage, and who has forged it into strength. He does not deny his aggression. He channels it. He does not suppress his ambition. He sharpens it. He does not hide his shadow. He integrates it. This integration is what makes him magnetic. Women feel it in his presence. The sense that he could break the world, but chooses not to. He could dominate, but he restrains himself. He could destroy, but instead he creates. This balance of danger and control is the ultimate form of masculine power. Nietzsche would say this is the true path of self-overcoming. The man who denies his monster lives in weakness. The man who is enslaved by his monster lives in chaos. But the man who masters his monster lives in power. And it is this man, dangerous yet controlled, terrifying yet disciplined, that women secretly crave above all others. Nietzsche's final warning. We began with a question. Why do women secretly crave the monster in men? And now the answer is clear. It is not because women are irrational, nor because they enjoy suffering, but because life itself is drawn to vitality, to danger, to the presence of power. Women are the mirror of this truth. They crave not the weak man who hides from his darkness, nor the brute who is enslaved by it, but the rare man who carries his monster with discipline. Nietzsche's warning is timeless. If you live only to be safe, agreeable, and tame, you may win acceptance, but you will lose desire. Women may thank you for your kindness, but they will not crave you. Desire lives where danger lives, in the aura of a man who dares to embrace the shadow without being consumed. This is the brutal reality most men do not want to hear. They cling to the fantasy that being nice, gentle, and endlessly patient will make them desirable. But Nietzsche rips away the illusion. Women do not dream of lambs. They dream of wolves who choose not to devour them. They dream of men who could destroy but instead inspire. They dream of the monster mastered. So the final choice is yours. You can live as the safe man, invisible, tolerated, forgotten. Or you can confront your monster, integrate it, and rise as the dangerous man who carries both fear and fascination in his presence. For in the end, Nietzsche leaves us with a truth, both terrifying and liberating. Women do not crave the absence of danger. They crave the man who stands at the edge of it and never falls.